This video shows how to add some functionality to the Custom Manager page. It's the second part of a series, so if you haven't, watch the first video before continuing. The package we created with GPM already comes with a working CMP. This default manager page can be found under Extras Simple Reviews. A menu item was created for this. In the menu item, the namespace is set to Simple Reviews and the field Action to Manage. In the configuration file of the package, we can find this menu item under Menus:. In MODX, a controller is used to define the content of a CMP. The name and location of the controller file are very specific. The file name is the value of the action followed by .class.php. It has to be located in a folder, Controllers, in the core directory. The name of the controller class is the namespace, followed by the action, followed by Manager Controller. Let's open this controller file in the repo. For the HTML content of the manager page, the path to a template file is returned in the function getTemplateFile. In this case, it's the file manage.tpl that is located in the templates folder. The template contains only a single diff element with the ID Simple Reviews Panel Manage diff. The rest of the page content is all created in JavaScript. There are quite a few files involved in the JavaScript part, so bear with me. Our controller class has a parent class Simple Reviews Base Manager Controller. This class is located in the file index.class.php. When the class is initialized, the function addJavaScript is used to add the file simplereviews.js to the output. This JavaScript file is located in the Assets folder under JS/Manager. A variable, Simple Reviews, is defined in this file. The variable is set to an ext.js component. This component contains only some empty properties. It's mainly used to store the definitions of the rest of your ext.js components. In the controller parent class, when the page has finished loading, a property config gets added to the variable we've just discussed. In the MODX manager, when the CMP is shown, we can use the console in the developer tools to inspect the variable Simple Reviews. The property grid, for example, is still an empty object. The property config contains the package-specific paths that you may need in your JS code. Apart from this JS file in the parent class, two additional JavaScript files get added in the controller. These are the files manage.panel.js and manage.js. The file manage.js contains a page component. All it basically does is to define that the panel component gets rendered to the diff element in the template. This panel component with the X-type Simple Reviews Panel Manage is specified in the other JavaScript file manage.panel.js. The panel contains an h2 tag with the title. This title can be seen here in the CMP. Then a tab component gets added with only one tab. The tab contains a text with a greeting. This can be seen here in the manager. Now we want to add some functionality to this CMP. For this, we create a new grid component to show the reviews from the database. First, we add a new file and call it reviews.grid.js. We paste some ext.js code for a grid. This component extends the normal MODX grid component. We give it the X-type simple reviews grid reviews. In the code, we have to define the fields for the store. These are the names of the database columns. Then we specify what columns are actually shown in the grid. The property data index refers to the field. There are other column settings for the header text, the column width, and the renderer that's used. We save the file. Next, we have to add our new grid to the panel component. In the file manage.panel.js, we delete the greeting and add the grid, referring to it by the X-type we defined. Save the changes. We also have to change the controller to load the newly created JS file. We copy the line that adds the panel and change the file name to reviews.grid.js. Let's save the file and switch to the MODX manager. We make a hard refresh to be sure that the JS files are up to date. We can now see the grid with the columns we defined. Currently the grid is empty and shows an error. That's because we haven't created a processor yet. In MODX, a processor handles an AJAX request and returns JSON data. To fill a grid, a GetList processor is used. In the repo, we go to the src processors folder and create a subfolder, review. Then we create a new file in it, getlist.php. This is the code of our GetList processor. We define the namespace that corresponds to the folder structure. We import the MODX GetList processor and our custom class with a use statement. Our class has the same name as the file. It extends the MODX GetList processor. With the property class key, we specify from what class to load the data from. We also define how the data should be sorted. Now we have to tell the grid component to use this processor to load the data. In the file reviews.grid.js, we set the action request parameter to the fully qualified class name of our processor. We save everything and go back to the manager. After a hard refresh, the grid now shows the reviews. We want to add the functionality to decide which reviews are shown on the front end and which not. For this, we add two more processors. The first is called publish.php. The code is similar to the GetList processor. But this time we extend the MODX update processor. Again, we set the property class key to our custom class. Then we override the process function. In the function, we set the field published to true. We save the object, return an error if that didn't work and a success message otherwise. Save the processor and duplicate it. The duplicated file gets renamed to unpublished.php. We change the name of the class so it corresponds to the file name. And this time, we set the published field in the process function to false. Save the file. Next we update our ext.js grid component to make use of these processors. In the file reviews.grid.js, we scroll down to the getMenu function. This function is used to generate the context menu. We enter some code to add menu items. If the current record is published, we show the option to unpublish it. If it's unpublished, we show a publish option. The handler property specifies what function gets executed when the menu item is clicked. We have to add these functions. In the publish function, we make an AJAX request to our publish processor and supply the ID of the current record as a parameter. If the request is successful, we reload the data in the grid. The unpublish function works the same but calls the unpublish processor instead. Next we update the output snippet. In the folder Elements Snippets, open the Get Reviews snippet. Then add a where clause to the query to only return published reviews. In the manager, after a hard refresh, we can now use the context menu to publish and unpublish reviews. On the front end, only published reviews are now shown. If you want your extra to work for different languages, you have to use lexicons. The CMP is already prepared for internationalization. In the controller parent class, in the function getLanguageTopics, the default topic of our custom lexicon is loaded. This lexicon file can be found under lexicon-en-default.inc.php. The lexicon entries are used, for example, in the controller, in the function getPageTitle, to output a language-specific title, and in JavaScript, in the panel component, to specify the tab label. To use lexicon entries in your custom code, replace the hard-coded strings with the lexicon syntax. As an example, we change the header text of the column published in the grid. The syntax in JavaScript is _ round brackets, and the lexicon key as a string. We add a new entry with this key to the lexicon file. To support an additional language, add a new folder with the language code to the lexicon directory. We use DE4 German as an example. Then translate the values of the entries in the lexicon file. After changing all the hard-coded texts in the grid to lexicon keys and translating them, we can check the result in the manager. First we clear the cache to be able to see the changes. After a hard refresh of the page, we go to the menu Toggle Language and select Deutsch.
In unserer benutzerdefinierten Managerseite sind die Texte jetzt alle auf Deutsch.
Many extras have what's called a service class. It's usually a class with the same name as the package, located directly in the src folder. The class Simple Reviews in our case. Typically in the constructor of such a class, the package-specific paths are defined. This class also has a function, getOption, to query the paths. In the file bootstrap.php, the service class gets added to the MODX dependency injection container. If the service Simple Reviews doesn't exist yet, it gets added with MODX services add. The service class can now be used in other places in the code, like for example in snippets, and is only ever instantiated once. In this example code, the service is used in the controller parent class to get access to the package paths. And in the controller class as well.